But let's go to the. Are we going to start with the videos or the pictures first?
I got videos here.
Okay, so let's go to the videos. This is in Detroit. These are the ballots. But all these ballots for Santa Claus. Oh yeah, I know that spot.
So these are pretty raw.
Yeah, these are pretty raw. So how long are these videos?
This one's 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay. So let's. Okay. Right here. Okay. All right. So let's look at this. So okay. So right here for people who are watching. Again, we're just getting this. These are people bringing them in coolers. There's no one around.
That looks like a radio.
That does not look like a bustling ballot counting operation. Wow. That looks
in the
like
dark.
That looks like the kind of place where Hunter Biden would find his next fix.
And one of the things is there's certainly a lot to be happening. Wayne County has a lot of votes, but it's the dead of night. Yeah. The polls have been closed for hours and hours. Where are these? And
they were supposed to stop counting. That's what they said on air.
Right. And what are they doing at this particular moment that they need these type of containers at this particular time?
Wow. Okay. Let's keep fast forward. What was that voice that I just heard?
There's a white van.
Oh, it's someone
narrating.
And this little cart thing. See?
Wow.
He's getting something out of there.
That's just one guy. Yeah. And he's not even wearing a tie.
So the person who's going to be logging in, her name is Kelly S., and she's a licensed attorney here in Texas, again, up in the Detroit area, who monitoring with some other groups that are part of the Attorneys for Trump organization. They're just there monitoring, making sure that things get done correctly.
It's a wagon.
And you're going to see wagons and
That's
other
a wheel-wed wagon.
Strange implements. So this is either a horror movie or something worse.
Wow. You wouldn't be able to trust that just because some ballots could fly off the back. That's a guy in a WrestleMania T-shirt with a KB Toys wagon.
Wow.
So he's bringing these.
I was joking about the radio flyer.
No, but yeah, you're right.
Actually a radio flyer.
He got the nice brand.
On brand.
Yeah, the good thing. Yeah, that's name brand.
Good for him.
Wow.
They spent the extra $20.
So think of the different points here where there's no security. There's no security. First off, we have no idea how these things got into the van. There's no one there right now escorting him from the van. There's no one meeting him as he brings it into there. Like, you would think that there should be a human conveyor belt of people. It should look like American Gangster when they're all cutting the cocaine naked, so that you're sure they don't have anything in their pockets. And this guy's just walking in. There isn't any kind of official there for hundreds of yards.
Goodness.
He's just bringing in a wagon right there, and we
actually have her on air. The person who
recorded it, and we have more videos. So let's and her name is
Kelly Sorrell.
Kelly Sorrell. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us. Hey, and look at this. Even after a long night, you look better than the people over there on CNN, and you actually have lighting and sound that functions. Kelly, I don't want to get this wrong here. My half-Asian lawyer Bill is here. That was you videotaping this, and I don't want to be redundant, but I don't think this can be stressed enough. This was happening in one of the major areas of Michigan, right in Detroit. We just watched one video where a guy was bringing it in a red wagon, these ballots. Explain to me what you saw and why you brought it to half-Asian Bill's attention and officials. Why is this so concerning?
Well, I actually went up there. All the polls were closed, and I went up there after we had all gotten back to the hotel. I was kind of watching the news and decided I was going to go check on, it's called Kobo. And so I thought I'd go downtown and check out how the absentee ballots were being counted and see if they were still counting, because I had actually heard on the news that they weren't going to be counting anymore.
That's exactly. So we were doing the election stream all night. And keep in mind that into that point, when we were about to go to bed, they said we're going to reconvene. I think they said at 9 a.m. or they said at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, an hour later, there was a huge jump in Michigan for Biden. So yes, we were there last night. People can corroborate it. 8 million people watched. They said no more counting, and that's when you started filming this video, right?
Well, yeah. And so as soon as I heard that, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to go down there and just check and make sure that they actually are cutting it off, because I would hate to leave or not be down there checking on things and they be doing something shady. So I went down and I actually got in, and they screened me for COVID. They took my temperature, made sure I had my mask. I kind of roamed around, and I was like, I'm going to go grab some coffee. and then come back and park for the night because they were active. So I left, and as I was walking out the door, I see this white van pull up. And as I stopped for a second, turned on my phone, you saw the video where I kind of like walk around, and I see he's pulling out like an old radio flyer wagon and is like connecting it. And then I get in the car and I see him like drop the box. And that was pretty much, we had worked polling stations for the night. And that's, very similar to the box that we had seen and been watching and monitoring to make sure that it got locked and removed from the polling stations, put in vehicles, and driven to the secure locations.
Right.
So it was just one of those where I was like, that's kind of weird. So I went and grabbed my coffee, came back, and just was sitting and just observing. I tried to go in. I'm not a Michigan resident, so I'm not allowed to actually go and roam around on the floor.
Right.
But I could observe. It was a glass window. I could observe. There was no security at the door. Nobody was checking bags or credentials or, who was coming in, even identification, anything. People were just able to go in. I'm assuming if they were actually counting ballots, they would get something somewhere.
Right.
But just for regular folks, and there were other attorneys in our group that actually got in later and just roamed the floor.
So that was the first video, and I understand that we have some other videos as well, if I'm not mistaken. Correct there, Quarter Black Garrett?
I do.
So can you tell us what the next video will be? Quarter Black Garrett, give us a description, and then we'll go to our
it looks like we're inside of the area.
Inside of the
Looks like
building.
the inside of the building. Okay. So we're
looks
going
like
to
the
watch
actual
this here. Stay
counting
with us.
area.
I just want to make sure that people can see this so we can sort of give people a visual aid. Let's show the inside of the building, this video here. Okay, so this is where they were going inside, and that's where they're supposed to be counting those ballots, I assume. And so, I'm sorry, I forgot the name of your lovely guest here.
Kelly.
Kelly, right here, can you turn on the volume on the clip a little bit?
Yeah.
So Kelly, right here we see them coming in suitcases. Is this the same place, the area where they are now? Is that where you saw them bringing in the red wagon? Because in here it looks like there are quite a few people. That's a ballot counting operation.
Right. So I can't really tell which video clip you're looking at, but so it's basically like a convention center, the
Right.
building that we're in. So there's where we came in, or where I came in, was kind of up on the upper level, and then you go down, and there's entrances for everyone. And they're dragging luggage, they're dragging bags, they're dragging igloo, like ice chest. They're there doing 5 to 6 hour shifts. And yeah, I mean, they were taking those items in with them into the clear glass windowed room that's to the back. And that's the area I couldn't cross into. So we weren't able, there we go. So that glass area to the back is where they would go through to go into count the ballots.
Right.
And so this front area is the lobby area, and they would come in from outside and bring those items into that secure area that's in the back where they actually have the ballots.
And that's where they were counting, and this is at that time when we had been told they had stopped counting. They weren't supposed to be counting.
Correct. And the concern was just the security concern. We don't really know what was going on with, or what items they were bringing in, or who was going in, or any of those things. Yeah.
So what is your primary, how does this differ from the normal experience, at where they would count ballots? Do people, right now what we're seeing is people bringing in by themselves with no security, red wagons and Coleman coolers, bringing them behind a glass area where no one has access. How does that differ from how ballot counting should look, or how it usually looks? Because keep in mind, for a lot of people, they've never seen any of this at work.
Well, I would think you could kind of look at how we vote, right? I mean, we go into a polling location. It's very formal. There's a process. We go through. They check your identification. They, validate who you are, verify that you're a person that's eligible to vote, that you're in the right precinct, you're in the right area. So, I would think that if we're going to go through all of those steps to make sure that our voting is protected, that we're doing it properly, you would think that our end result would have the same level of security.
Right.
And we don't see that here. And so the difference is basically they're just letting whoever in with whatever items. They're not verifying any of it. You see the two ladies standing there, but they're not stopping to say, hey, are you even supposed to be here?
Right. And so what would be the risk there of those people walking in with no stop? Here, hold on. We're going to have my half-Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond, here come in. What would be the risk of those people right now? They're walking with what appear to be giant, Santa sacks, or they're walking in with pillowcases full of something. We see people walking in with coolers. What, I guess, is your concern? They could be walking in with fake ballots? They could just,
fake ballots, absolutely. I mean, this is a battleground state. We came up here to Michigan to help Trump because this is a state that's under fire. This is one that we needed to be monitoring for fraud.
Right.
And it's kind of hard to monitor for fraud when nobody's checking.
Yeah. There really is nobody checking there. And I don't know if someone would argue, well, they're checking once you're past the glass. I don't know if someone would argue that.
They're not. They go in, they roam around, they sit down. I don't know what all goes on.
And so one of the important things here is, and we can raise a good point, is look, maybe somebody's got some sandwiches, maybe someone's got some drinks, but at the very least we have a very clear appearance of a problem. And given how many concerns we've had, particularly in Democrat-controlled jurisdictions, about election security, you imagine that the most heightened election security concerns we've ever had, highlighted for weeks and weeks, on the day of the election in a battleground state, in one of the largest precincts in that battleground state, you have lax security at a time when the ballots are coming in. Now, again, the ballots, it's not like all of a sudden, a million Biden votes happened right after these igloos went in, but rather the very clear that at the least, we've got a lack of security that raises questions about the election itself, and particularly in this jurisdiction. And at the worst, we have people who are without the ability to vet it, who's in there.
Well, this is also listen, as someone who has spent quite a bit of time in Detroit, you have more security at a racquetball court. It's Detroit. You have someone there guarding something. There is nobody checking at all.
Yeah, they're just walking in.
And at what time was this? Were these videos taken approximately, Kelly?
That was actually ironically, the issue with Wisconsin came in at shift change. All of that, where you see most of that luggage coming in, is at their shift change at 4:30, 5 in the morning.
Wow! Because you know what, we had to end the stream. Was it right about 4 o'clock? Right about 4 o'clock in the morning is when we ended. We wanted to stay here throughout the entire night, and then they said we are going to reconvene later today and count. And then I took an hour nap in a hammock. I'm not exaggerating, and I woke up. And Michigan had entirely changed. It happened right at that time. It
happened right in front of my eyes, and all I could think was, "What the heck?" All I saw was all this stuff going in.
Now, what would you say to people who just say, "Well, that's also because all these votes are just Wayne County, and that's heavily liberal"? Would we expect that kind of a turnaround? I mean, there was a huge lead going into, or a big lead at that point by many. What was it? 6 points, Michigan, 8 points at that point before about 4:30 a.m. What would you say to people who would argue that?
So this is actually just kind of an interesting thought, because we thought going into last night,
turn down the clip.
We were doing great in Michigan. We had been working Michigan.
Right.
All of us spent yesterday, all of the attorneys, we spent roaming around, checking precincts, we did Detroit, we did the suburbs, we did all the different areas to see how many people were, at the polling locations. And I will tell you that suburbia, loaded. You could tell. People were packed in there. They were busy all day. You go into inner city Detroit, nobody was in there. So we were like, shoot, we got this. Like, yeah, heck yeah, we did good.
Right.
And then you come into this, and it's like, what the heck? All of these absentee ballots pop up, and we're just, okay.
Well, but couldn't it just be that people voted early, and that's what they're finally bringing in? I mean, that's what people would argue, right? Well, these are just early ballots, and they're counting them now, and that's a liberal county.
Well, okay, so another thing, too, is that when I left this morning, they were looking, or right after I left, they announced that they basically were around 16,000 uncounted absentee ballots. That's what they were working on. And then by 10 a.m., it jumped to about 30 to 35,000. There was like about a 10-minute gap between 30 and 35.
Right.
And then the next thing we know, we're up to 120-something thousand.
Absentee ballots. And they were only expecting 16? They were only expecting 16,000?
Yeah, the first thing this morning, that's what they were looking at.
So I have a video that she might want to weigh in on. This is from Matt Finn at Fox News, and this, I believe, is the same place. It's the scene at Detroit's absentee ballot counting center. It's growing more heated, and the people are saying that there are allegations of violations, and they're covering up the windows so that people can't see what they're doing inside.
Okay, so Kelly, you're able to see what we're showing you right now, correct? Okay, go repeat.
I actually lived it already this afternoon.
Okay.
Our attorneys, I've actually been here at the hotel. I've not slept yet. And so we were working on some of this stuff. But some of the other attorneys with the group, they were kicked out. They weren't allowed in. And so they've been down here at the hotel and not able to go anywhere. So
okay, well, let's show this video here that's going on at Fox News. So if you can confirm it, do we have that video here? Let's show it. So this is what they were doing. Why would they put up? What is that commonplace? Can someone let me know?
That's a video from the
That's
inside.
from the
of
inside.
That's from
Yeah.
inside. Again, this is not coming from Kelly. The other videos that we just showed, the wheel-wed wagons and the people going with no security, that was separate. Kelly, that's exclusive to us. This is what they're showing at Fox News. Is that common practice at any polling station to cover it up with Bristol boards?
Wow.
Well, I mean, if you're trying to show that you're transparent and that these are legitimate elections, you should have that open ability to look in and at least observe to make sure that people are following protocols and there's some kind of, process that's being, compliant.
I thought that was the purpose to doing it. I've never been to a polling station where it wasn't all glass.
I mean, I've seen more of the inside of a McDonald's than I've seen of that polling place once they put those boards up.
and then you scalded your crotch with coffee.
It was great.
Well, so it's really funny because I started, as soon as I got back this morning, I tried to start kind of discussing with different people the concerns I had and the things I had witnessed overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And so it got around in just this little group, in this little area. So I'm pretty sure it was probably discussed over there, and that's probably their response was somebody's in there recording, and so let's, lock them out.
Yeah, and keep in mind, we have a lot of people watching right now. So let me ask you this. What do you think, and I know you have to be careful legally, what do you think happened? What do you think was going on? If you have to guess what happened at that, was it Devil's Hour 3:33? Is that where something happens all the time? I don't know. I saw it in a horror movie, but 4:30.
Yeah.
What do you think happened? We saw people bringing in wagons and coolers unchecked and then putting up boards to cover up the glass. Do we just think they're saying, hey, we want to keep this secure, we don't want anyone to get shot through the glass? Is it just there were so many votes, they were overburdened? So what do you think happened there in Detroit?
Well, I generally don't think you try to hide something if you're being transparent and honest.
Right.
I mean, that's generally, that's kind of how we see things, right?
Yeah.
If you're upfront and giving, doing the right thing,
right,
then you're happy to have people observe and see that you're doing what you're supposed to do by the people in your community, right?
Right.
So, I mean, the only thing that would lead me to believe is that they are doing something.
That is inherently dishonest, and it would seem to coincide with something that was almost nonsensical as far as the number jump.
Right.
What kind of a challenge, I guess, can there be to this practice? As you're a lawyer and my half-Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond, is here. What do we do? How do we fight this?
I'm not jumping in on that because I am not a Michigan attorney, and I'm just going to sit back and see where the administration wants to go or where the RNC wants to go or where the GOP here in Michigan wants to go.